And that's why personal development is important to me, because it's all about leaving a legacy. Where I'm at today, I had to figure it out. You know what I mean? When I think about legacy, I got two sons. I just want to develop myself so I can model the way for them so they won't have to start off in such a negative deficit like I did.
You have to understand that your purpose is at a higher plane. It's not just for you, it's for others. Reaching a high level of personal development, right? I'm doing this for a greater purpose.
Javon is a dynamic business coach, a speaker, author, and former U.S. Army veteran who is passionate about marketing, sales, and just helping motivated individuals to achieve their goals. Hey, Javon, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Larry. I'm excited about the conversation, man.
No doubt. Hey, so let's just jump straight in, man. For those of us who are not familiar, share a little bit about your background, your story, just kind of how you got to where you are today.
Absolutely, man. It's a lot of twists and turns, ups and downs, bumps and bruises. I'm sure you can attest to, right? Man, I always like to start at the age of 17. Age of 17, I got into a little bit of trouble. I faced 7 years in prison. I didn't have to do it by the grace of God, but that really woke me up. I had really had a mindset of lack. I had a mindset of scarcity, growing up in poverty, not really knowing money, not really knowing what value meant, attributing value to money. It really taught me something different when my mom told me, as I was awaiting trial back at 17, she told me she put the house up. Right now, this was the house that me, my three sisters, and my brother lived in, my mother lived in. So if anything went wrong, they would have been homeless. So that taught me a valuable lesson in that visitation room, man, that I had value and it had nothing to do with money. So fast forward to when God gave me a second chance and let me out of there. I finished high school. I tried college, couldn't afford it. So I went another route. I understood now that there were options. I didn't have to stay in the hood. I grew up in Rochester, New York. I didn't have to stay there, right? I decided I wanted to be a product of my effort instead of a product of my environment. So I joined the military, and in there, they teach you all types of things like leadership, communicating effectively. And they teach you something about how resilient you are, how you can move forward no matter where you came from, how the labels don't matter. It's not the labels society places on you. It's the labels you choose to believe about yourself. So that's how I became so immersed in mindset. That's why I wrote the book On Your Kingdom. And that's why now I really focus on, even though I focus on business a lot, I really focus on the mindset piece before we move into any business, because you cannot control your destiny if you don't control your mindset.
Yeah, man. Hey, so let me just start with the saying that you just said a few minutes ago, man. You said you wanted to be a product of your effort, not a product of your environment.
Absolutely.
I've never heard that put that way, because we all know what it means to be a product of our environment. And so you decided you're not going to be a product of your environment. You're going to be a product of your effort, man. I like that.
Absolutely.
I like the way you said that.
Thank you. I appreciate that, brother.
Yeah,
it's something that I learned, the hard way, right? As many of us do. It's like, so that's why I named the company Live Not Loathe, really, is because when you think about where we are as people, we a lot of us focus all on the negative, and that's loathing, right? That's really hating your circumstances. It's really past hate, right? You abhor it. You just can't stand it. It's like it's the bane of your existence. And a lot of us feel that way about ourselves, about our circumstances, about doing a job we hate, about being in relationships we hate, about being poor, all of that stuff. So being a product of your effort is really about flipping that on its head and saying, hey, I can control some things about my life. I can control my outlook. I can control my belief systems. I can control what I do with my 24 hours a day, because we all had the same time. And I can control whether I choose to give up and lay down or I choose to get back up and fight.
Yeah, man. So So like you said, that's really mindset, and we're gonna talk more a little bit more about that in a minute, but definitely because that's key, man. But let's talk about personal development for a second, because that's what this show is all about. Personal development, right? And so just want to, for me, I look at personal development as like, it's pretty much you doing what you need to do, whether it's education or whatever it is, wherever that may be, school of hard knocks, institutional education, whatever it may be, training, whatever. it's all about doing all those things to reach and attain your potential. That's basically what I believe personal development is. So, but I just want to hear from you. Like, how do you how do you define personal development? Like, how would you describe it when someone says, "Hey, man, hey, Javon, like, what is personal development, and what do I need to do?" How would you describe it?
So I always look at personal development. So for me, there's a triad of things when it comes to that, right? So you have your spiritual, you have your mental, and you have your physical, right? And that also entails your emotional. And when I look at that triad, I call it owning your kingdom. When you're in sync on all of those, you're developing yourself spiritually, physically, mentally. You become centered, and when you become centered, you're grounded, which means you're focused. And in the middle of that triangle is the focus center. That means you have a purpose. See, personal development for me is aligning with my values and aligning with my purpose, elevating myself on all three of those planes so that I can be the best and I can leave some type of legacy. My goal is to leave an indelible mark on the world when I'm all said and done, right? So that's what personal development really means to me, is becoming my best self and not resting on my laurels. Whatever my accolades, however high I rose myself, it's not resting on that. It's understanding that I still have a job to do, right? And that job is to be the best version of myself every day.
Man, I love that. And one thing that you said about leaving a legacy, that really resonates with me, because, and that's why personal development is important to me, because it's all about leaving a legacy. And the reason why that's important to me is because I feel like, I where I'm at today, I had to figure it out. You know what I mean? And I had good parents, but still, like, I really had to figure it out, how to get to where I am today and how to grow and develop. And I've had to figure out, okay, I need to read books, I need to do all this, I need to take classes, I need to take courses. I had to figure that out. But the thing
Right.
about it is, by the time I figured that out, I had made so many mistakes, and I felt like I was so far behind. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And when I think about legacy, I don't want to leave. I got two sons, and I don't want my sons to kind of. I mean, I know they're going to have their own struggles. I know that. I can't take away their struggles, and actually, some of those struggles they probably need to go through to make them into the men that they need to be. And so I understand that, but some struggles they ain't got to go through, and because it's just a matter of being taught or somebody modeled the way for them. And so that's my thing, is with personal development. I just want to develop myself so I can model the way for them, so they won't have to start off in such a negative deficit
Right.
like I did. So I love what you said about, the legacy part. That's important, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's really what it is. I mean, we have to understand that our journey in the military, we have something called selfless service, right? That's one of the tenets of the Army, the values. And I believe that to truly reach a point where you can be satisfied as an individual, you have to understand that your purpose is at a higher plane. It's not just for you, it's for others. It's a service perspective, and that's going to get us to really being in a place of more joy, of more happiness, and more compassion, which leads to a higher quality of life for all. And you said something key, Larry. You talked about, your sons, and that, to me, that is really the definition of reaching a high level of personal development, where you understand that, hey, I'm not doing this for me, right? I'm doing this for a greater purpose, and for you, it's your sons. And when you talk about the courses, you talk about getting all that information and insight, it's really the application where a lot of people fail when it comes to personal development. Because I know plenty of people who read, they go to all these courses, go to all these conferences, but when it comes to the execution, that's where a lot of us fall short. So one of the things I recommend everyone do when it comes to personal development, if you read a book, ask yourself, how can you apply what you learned in that chapter, right? At that moment, what exercises could you perform? Are you questioning yourself on how you could be better in some ways, right? You really have to push yourself to make it not just something you do in that moment, but something you do as a habit, right? Making it a lifestyle change. So I love hearing that from you.
Yeah, man. You're absolutely right. Because like I said, man, it's a lot of people that know that know stuff. You know what I mean? But and they may have the knowledge. If you don't apply that, it's all theory. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
And but the other thing that you said too that really resonates with me is the fact that, like you said, it's about serving, selfless service, and that's one of the main reasons you need to, personally develop yourself. You need to grow. You need to learn. You need to advance. Is because, first of all, you start with doing that so you can grow yourself and excel and reach your fullest potential. But then it ain't all just for you. It's also so you can contribute to this world. And because somebody is counting on you. I like to say it like this. If you don't grow yourself, yes, a shame. It speaks to you and what you're doing. But the other thing, somebody is counting on you to be who you are. You know what I mean? Like all of the things that we use today, the products, the services that we use today, somebody is counting on that. The things that you do, the things that Javon is doing in his business and growing businesses and mentoring people and coaching people, somebody needs that. And so it's key for you to show up as yourself. And you know what I'm saying? Because somebody in the world needs that. And that's how this world is created. It's
Right.
it's relational. Like we need, everybody needs to play their part. And so if you're not growing, then somebody else is suffering from because you're not being all you supposed to be. You know what I mean?
And that's real, man. It's like when you think about that, right? How we got where we are. It is so true that, if someone doesn't develop to the level they need to accomplish the great goals that people we've seen, right? Think about that. All the way we're doing this recording here, right? None of this would exist if someone didn't get to that level where they say, you know what, forget what everyone else is telling me. Forget the naysayers, forget people saying that it is impossible, forget all of that. I am going to develop myself and develop this thought to make this happen, right? And that's the power of personal development. The power of personal development is being able to believe what is the unbelievable at sometimes. Being able to know that you're capable of something that sometimes may have never been done, and understanding that you're a gift, right? You are one of one. Your unique skill or the way you implement something is what separates you and what the world needs. That's what you're talking about, right, Larry? It's like find your gift, share your story, and then implement and put yourself out there, right? That's they say the richest place is the graveyard. Why? Because so many people didn't develop themselves to the level where they can say, hey, I'm gonna try this out and I'm not gonna give up on myself. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna put this idea in the atmosphere, right? Those are the things that you miss out on if you don't develop yourself.
If you're thinking about breaking into the tech field, then you should enroll in Course Careers. Our economy has changed, and so has the way we start careers. Course Careers is an online platform that will help you start your career faster without wasting money on college. With the Course Careers program, you can enroll into their online self-paced courses to begin, and you can complete the course in as little as a few weeks. And you don't have to worry about having the time to finish because all the courses are self-paced. You'll learn everything that's required to land your first job in tech sales, digital marketing, or information technology. The people at Course Careers partner directly with companies that want to hire you when you finish the program. People that finish the program are making $60,000 a year working from home. One person was able to finish the course within 2 weeks, and before they can even apply to any companies, their dream company reached out to them and set up an interview. They offered them over $100,000 a year starting in a fully remote position, and they didn't have any previous experience. If you want to get into the tech field, then go to my website, theladavis.com, to enroll today. And just for my listeners of this show, you can get a $50 discount when you use the coupon code LA50. That's LA50. Just go to theladavis.com/career, and you can also find that link in the show description. Course Careers is the quickest and most affordable way to change or start a career. Man, absolutely, man, bro. But the thing about it is, we can talk about personal development all day, and we can lay all those things out, and you can have the classes and the courses and the masterminds, and you can have all these things, right? But the thing about it is, all that's good, but it don't mean nothing if you ain't got the right mindset to receive it, or you ain't got the right mindset to even go after those things. You know what I mean? And so I want to transition into that a little bit, the mindset, and you spoke a little bit about it earlier, but man, I'm from Mississippi, and so I'm just from a place, man, to where I love my state, man, but that mindset, bro, it's like,
Right.
and so it, and I realize, I'm like you. I realize, look, I don't want to be a product of my environment. So I think I kind of, and I don't. People always ask me like, where did you get the mindset? Did your parents teach it to you? And I wouldn't say, I wouldn't say that. I would say, I don't know. I just kind of had it. Like, for
Yeah.
whatever reason, I've always been driven. I've always had this mindset. And I don't know, you know what I'm saying, where it came from, but it just kind of always been, even when I didn't know what to do with it.
Hmm.
Even when I didn't know what to do, I just needed somebody to show me the way. But I had this drive and I didn't know what to do with it. But I knew that I didn't want to be a product of my environment. And I knew I wanted to be, like, to use your words, a product of my effort. Man, I'm gonna steal that, okay?
Hey,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
say
Go ahead,
Javon
bro.
said it. You
Go
know,
ahead. It's all yours.
hey, I'm gonna
Um,
give you the credit though. I'm
there
gonna say,
you go.
you know what I'm saying? I got this from Javon, but I'm a product of my efforts. So let's talk about mindset, because it don't matter what's all out there. If you ain't got the right mindset to go after it, you won't do anything. So talk about mindset for me. Like, how important is mindset?
Man, mindset is everything. You like no matter how great you are, you will never understand it unless you have the proper mindset. You will never understand what you are capable of unless you have that proper mindset. And when I'm saying the proper mindset, I'm talking about the way of your outlook, right? How you perceive yourself, how you perceive your circumstances, right? How you perceive the world. And that's intrinsic and extrinsic. And there's two thoughts when it comes to mindset. There's the abundance or growth mindset, and then there's the scarcity and lack mindset that I talked about. You want to be in a growth and abundance because it allows you to understand that your circumstances are temporary. No matter what it is temporary, right? And that's why I say no matter what you did, no matter what your accomplishments were, no matter what failures you had, you got to keep going, right? Because whatever you are feeling in that moment, look, I'm somebody who suffers and deals with depression and PTSD every day of my life, but I got to decide to win. I got to stay in that abundant mindset so I can serve and I can leave that legacy that I talked about earlier, right? So we as people, we have to really be conscious about the way we're speaking to ourselves, right? What are you saying? Are you constantly bashing yourself? Are you constantly speaking in a negative, pessimistic way? You can be a realist, but still be optimistic, right? There's a scale there. You can say, like, all right, I don't have the skill. Maybe I didn't have a good day, but how do I get it? Instead of saying, hey, I suck, how do I become better if it's something that you're passionate about? How do I make this work? Ask yourself questions that leave you open to answers instead of doing these closed-ended things, these statements that makes it final, that makes it feel like it's permanent. That's the one of the ways we want to look at it. The second way, placing an interrupt between the thoughts, the emotion, and the action, right? Or you don't want to react, you want to respond. So what I like to tell my clients is as soon as you feel something like you want to say something, maybe you don't know you shouldn't say it, right? That primitive mind takes over where we don't even think, sometimes we just go. And that gets us in trouble a lot, right? If you're in a relationship, you say the wrong thing, you may not be able to recover from that, right? Or you have an impulsive decision and you do something, you may not be able to recover quickly. So we have to make sure we take that breath, right? Even if it's 5 seconds. I like to tell people to do it's an exercise called square breathing, where you go 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out, right? Hold it 4 seconds and then let it out, right? So you can try that before you do anything and then go. And that's going to allow you to respond to a stimulus, to a situation, to a circumstance, to a thought, rather than react. So that gives you a leg up already because cooler heads prevail. The third thing we want to think about when it comes to mindset is, are we truly challenging ourselves? You only grow in discomfort. So you have to take a step to realize that there's challenges that you need to face, right? It's just a given. You're not going to be comfortable every day. So you may well choose to challenge yourself towards a goal that you want to hit. And you don't have to go for like huge challenges, right? You don't have to climb Mount Kilimanjaro or something. You can go for something small. If you're afraid of public speaking, maybe you speak to a friend for a little bit. Maybe you write out an engagement and practice at the Chamber of Commerce or Toastmasters. Toastmasters. You want to start where you are, right? Get you a support system. I call it the 360 degrees of support. And what that looks like is you have yourself. You got to start with yourself. Support you first. Then you get your first wave of people. That's your close friends, your immediate fam that you're close to, right? Blood don't mean we close, right? But you want people around you that's really, really supportive, people that's not gonna bash you, but they're gonna hold you accountable and they allow you to be your authentic self, right? They keep it real with you and they want you to succeed. The second level of people, that's the people who may not be as close, but you could depend on them if you wanted to hit them up, right? Maybe you have some type of relation. Maybe it's a coworker, somebody you could talk to about certain things, right? Somebody you hang out with for certain situations. Then you have that third level. The third level of people are people that maybe be your virtual mentors, right? Somebody you look up to that may not even know you, but you know them and you're looking at them. They're an inspiration to you. You maybe aspire to be similar to them, right? So you want to have that 360 degrees of support. Let me know if you want me to stop it. I can talk about this all day, man. I'm gonna pause and let you get in there.
Nah, man, but hey, I was gonna let you go, man. You talking good, man.
Appreciate it.
So many things, man.
It's a lot. It's a lot. But the key point is that I like to make for people is you don't have to overwhelm yourself with it, right? Make one change, right? Habits, they say habits take 90 days. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that when you look at it as a habit, maybe it does, but when you look at it as lifestyle, you can adapt a little quicker. Because if you know that you are self-sabotaging, you know that you're really limiting yourself in some way, that should be your firepower. That should be your inspiration over your motivation, right? Motivation is fleeting, inspiration can be everlasting. So I want you to find something that inspires you, that gives you the fire to say, hey, this is worth the fight. This is worth that uncomfortable feeling. This is worth me sacrificing some social time so I can be better, And you got to find those things that really will tweak you and give you that cheat code, right? There's the secret to success is really challenging yourself to be better, right? That 1% better. We hear about that all the time. 1% better each day. And at the end of the year, you'll be surprised how far you've come. But we got to give ourselves grace. That's why I said, don't look at things as permanent. Give yourself grace for when you do fall short. Give yourself grace for when you do regress. They say there's 6 steps to change. Sometimes along those steps, those phases, we revert back to step 1. And we have to realize that we are human. But failure is a part of success, right? And that's the mindset we got to have. Failure is not meant to stop you. It is meant to help you grow. It is a stepping stone. It's to inform you like, hey, maybe you should try it a little different next time. Right? Even the greats fail at something they are considered the best in, right? LeBron misses free throws sometimes, right? LeBron has lost finals sometimes, but that doesn't stop him. So we got to look at it with that championship mentality. Like, how do we can keep going? And then how do we come back better?
Yeah, man. So yeah, because the thing about it is, this is what we have to understand. And I always say this, and it took me a while to realize this. It took me a little while. It took me because, like you mentioned depression before. I've been there with the depression, and it wasn't until I really realized, what, it's it's not really. I always say this: it's not about what happens to you, because something's gonna happen to you, and as long as you're in this world, something's gonna happen to you. It's not about what happens to you; it's how you think about what happened to you. It's your perspective on what happened to you,
Absolutely.
right? And which is gonna make the difference between whether you learn from it or whether you let it bury you. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
you got 2 choices. You can either let it make you become better, or you can become bitter. And that's the thing about it. I think that's that key to that everybody, when they facing challenges or you go through something, it's how you think about what happened to you. And like you said, that's what the greats do. Any great performer, whether it's whether it's in sports or business or whatever, any great
Mhm.
performer, entrepreneur, whatever, the thing that separates them from everybody else is not that they go through stuff. It's the fact that, because sometimes people think, oh, they didn't go through what I went through. They probably went through something worse than you
Yeah,
did. But
you
the
don't
thing
know.
about it is, it's how they think about what they went through. Yeah, they may take a day or two to lick their wounds, because we
Right.
all do. But in about 2 or 3 days, you need to be getting up and say, okay, what can I learn from this? And
Yeah.
so it's your perspective. If you change your perspective, you can change your results. It's how you think about what happened to you. It's not what happened to you. And so
Absolutely.
that's definitely key, man.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. It's like there's a bunch of books that talks about that, right? The Obstacle is the Way is one, right, by Ryan Holiday. You
I
got
love that book.
yeah, The Body
Yeah.
Keeps the Score, right? You got a ton of different books that talks about using what has happened to you as a way to springboard, because terrible things happen to people, right? Terrible things, but if we look throughout history, we can see that there's tons of folks who have been through absolutely traumatic things, right? Viktor Frankl is one of my favorite examples. Right? His whole family virtually was killed in the Holocaust. He was tortured, but yet he chose to look and say, hey, I feel bad for the guards who had to perform those atrocious acts, right? That is a perspective that I can only wish that I would have in that situation, right? It's like people like that, they can see what happened to them, and they're saying like, hey, this is a chance for me to teach. This is a chance for me to look at what the good is, because there's a saying that there's nothing inherently good or bad, right? There's we have to look. We may feel a way about it, but we have to look at how it can transcribe or change the history. It may not be for us to understand reasons why things happen, and I had to learn that myself. Like, we always ask, why me? Why did this happen to me? Well, a lot of times it may not be for you, right? The purpose that took place. And we can't always make it personal, because if we make it personal, a lot of us will carry that forever and we'll never be able to move forward, right? It's like the first chapter of my book, forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself for feeling like you could have done something differently, because the past has moved forward and you need to, right? Of course, you have to process. Take that time, talk to people, right? Make sure you're doing something in a healthy way to help you move forward. There are such things as healthy distractions, but you got to make sure you're not distracting yourself from ever addressing it, because what happens is those things stick with you. And even if you think you've moved past it, it impacts everything else you do, right? For instance, if someone told you to be quiet when you were a kid, now maybe you're afraid to speak up as an adult. You never addressed it. You don't know where it came from. Those types of things. That's why I always recommend that no matter how good you feel right now, I advise you to just talk to someone, right? Just talk to them, see what comes up for you. Because oftentimes in traumatic situations, we stuff things down, and that's our coping mechanism. And we get angry, things trigger us, we don't understand why. So it's really up to you to understand your triggers, understand situational feelings. So if I know that in a certain situation I feel a way, or there's a physical response, then there's something there. And we need to figure it out, and we need to stop and see what that may have come from, right? See if you can pinpoint that, because if you can pinpoint what is holding you back, you can address it as if it's happening real time and move forward, right, through the right tools and resources.
Are you trying to build your personal brand and break free from your 9 to 5? Or maybe you like your 9 to 5, but you want to start a side hustle and make some extra money? Take control of your legacy, your narrative, and your finances by unlocking the tools you need to create impact and financial freedom. Maybe you have a message to share, but right now, that message is not being heard. Maybe you're lacking the community to serve with your passion and gifts. Maybe you don't have a clear path to turn your passion into income. You may have anxiety about where to even start, because putting yourself out there at first can feel overwhelming. Well, I want to tell you about the Impact Creator Society. This is a community created to help you build your 6-figure personal brand. Once you have a clear path to turn your passion into profit and grow an established community, a world of possibilities will open up for you. The Impact Creator Society is a community to help you create your impactful brand that generates freedom and legacy. Inside this community, you will get courses and workshops to include the Entrepreneur's Blueprint and Millionaire Mentor Masterclass. You will get group accountability through an online engaged community. If you're ready to start or to level up your personal brand, then go to theladavis.com/impact to join today. Again, that's theladavis.com/impact, and you can also find that link in the show description. Okay, so so would you say that you advocate for therapy?
Absolutely, absolutely, but has to be the right therapist. You may not find the right one on the first try, right? I had to go through like 4 of them to find the right one, because everyone's not going to vibe with you. You may feel like they talk too much in these sessions. You know, there's certain things you want to look for, so don't give up after the first one.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely, man, I definitely, I advocate for it. I encourage it. I think, matter of fact, I think at some point in your life, if you've never been, I don't care if you ain't never had a problem, you need to go,
Right.
because you might not think you got a problem, but you know what I'm saying? But when you get on that couch and get to talking and dig up some of that stuff, you know what I'm saying? You realize, oh, wait a minute, I wasn't thinking about this the right way. And maybe I do have, maybe I do got some triggers and things like that. And so definitely, man, I advocate for that. So let's talk about business growth, because that's like the thing that you do, right? You help businesses grow. And so let's talk about that a little bit, like your business and your business growth and development ideas have, you get this, y'all, his ideas have been featured in top publications like Entrepreneur, Fast Company, Founder, and Verizon. So that's pretty good, man. So so just give us a little bit, give us a few business growth tips that we can use, because a lot of us are looking to grow our business, especially in today. A lot of people have started businesses, since 2020, since the pandemic. So many people that never had a business before, they've all started businesses. Absolutely. So just give us a few, little tips and techniques to growing our business.
Yeah, number one, don't expect, aspire, right? When you expect things to happen for you, you'll be disappointed, and it may stop you in your tracks, right? So aspire for certain things to happen. I know we see a lot of fly-by-night people saying in 6 months they grew their business to $1 million. Probably false, right? Probably false. There are some people who hit strike gold, on their first try, but not as many as you may think, right? Sadly, a lot of businesses fail within the first 10 years, right? So 5 years is about half. So think about that.
Oh, wait a minute. Are you telling me that because I'll be tempted to join these classes or these masterminds? You know what I'm saying? Like I'm tempted. I'm like, you mean to tell me that I can't scale my, I can't scale my business to 9 figures in 2 weeks? Like
right. Yeah, I know it sounds good, right? They be like, yeah, you got the Lamborghinis in the videos.
I know they got jets in
like, oh man, I need that. Right? How do I get that? How do I get that house that they just rented on Peerspace or Airbnb for the week? So you got to make sure that you really choose. If you're gonna choose these courses and these people, make sure you do your research on them, because like a lot of that look good, but it ain't good. And then they're using things that worked during the pandemic that no longer work. Stuff like that, or they're telling you to run a Facebook ad back before iOS 14 update happened, where the privacy is now impacting your cost per click. So it's like all these things you think about, that's what you have to look for in business. Do not just listen to something. Do your research, right? Get clear on your target market. Get clear on what their pain points are and the language they're using. Because even if you know them, but if you're not using the right language, the right messaging, it'll fall on deaf ears. And then another thing I always recommend is test. Before you release something. Do some beta testing. Get a couple people to test it out, make sure it's working before you release a product or service. Because a lot of times we think it's a great idea, but the people we want to buy it don't think it's a great idea. It's not solving a problem for them. So we have to be mindful of that. Have you a board of advisors. They don't have to be formal people. Maybe you have, someone who has done it before. Maybe you have a mentor. You have someone who complements or supplements your services. So, for instance, I'm a business coach. Maybe I have an accountant. Maybe I have a performance coach, and maybe I have like a marketing copywriter, so on and so forth. Right? You're gonna look at people who should be in your ecosystem, so you can go and say, "Hey, I need you to. What do you think about this?" You know, you want to have an informal advisory board, no matter where you are in the business. If you're starting, you have to have that, because when we create in a vacuum, a lot of times we think our idea is the best thing since sliced bread, and it's really not. So make sure you test before you invest. All right, test before you invest. If you have a product, get a couple swatches of the product, right? Check out a few different vendors. If you're white labeling it, go with a few, like 3 different people, makers or manufacturers, to test to make sure the quality is right. If you have a service, get a little focus group in there, right? Invite some people at a discounted rate or free and have them play around with it. Take some feedback. Always have a feedback loop, right? To get some feedback on the people you serve. Like, for instance, a podcast, right? I always want to send a survey out to the guests, put a survey out to the listeners, see what they want. Maybe you'll get some ideas for content. Maybe you get some ideas for new software to record on, etc. Right? You do not have to do this thing alone. There's plenty of materials out there to help you excel, and there are plenty of people who actually know what they're talking about who will help to help you excel. So don't be afraid to invest, but make sure you're investing in someone or a service that aligns with your values and aligns with where you're looking to go.
Yeah, you said so. And I know you mentioned that stat about how people failing in business, or uh, but I think that, well, I mean, I get it. Some people it may fail due to uh the wrong timing, or the market is not ready for whatever you got, or you either too late, or what. I get those type of things, but I think the reason why a lot of people fail in business is because of ignorance. They just don't know what they don't know.
Mhm.
And they're not doing things like walking alongside with a coach, a business coach. You
Right,
know what I mean? Because it just never occurred to them to do that. You know what I mean?
right, right.
And so I think a lot of people fail simply because of that reason. Not even doing the right thing. Like you probably could have done the right thing, but you didn't know.
Right, and I agree. I wholeheartedly agree, Larry. I believe that a lot of people felt there. They see it goes back to mindset. When you're thinking, what's the cost versus what's the investment, right? You already have a problem right there, because then you're going to be trying to do everything yourself, and when you try to do everything yourself, you end up doing nothing well. So I have a formula, right? I have broken it out. It's called the 5 Why framework. This is what I use for all my clients, right? We want to look at your yardstick. What goal are you looking to hit? Your yield. What levers do we need to pull for you to hit that goal? Yard. How can we make it easier for you to function in this business? Can we delegate, delete, delay, and automate any task, right? So delegating tasks that maybe are important, but you don't necessarily need to do, right? And what time do we do this? Do we do it early in the business, or do we need to generate some revenue first, right? Those are things to think about. Deleting. A lot of us have grand ideas, but we have to look at what is our main one, especially when you're first starting a business. Look at one, right? One service line or product. You don't need to create 1,000 things. You got to get something that's a revenue driver to pay for your other stuff first, right? So that's another thing. And then you want to look at what can you delay. So there's a lot of things to do, like I said, and some things do not need to be done immediately. So prioritize what you need to do. If you don't know what to prioritize, then that's what a coach is for. That's what a mentor is for. And sponsors, I don't know a lot of people who talk about sponsors, but sponsors will mention your name in rooms that you're not even in. Right? That's another way you can open doors. And then automate. You don't want to remove the human element of your business, but there's a lot we can automate. Emails, for example, right? You don't have to send out every single email manually, right? You can set up a welcome sequence for when someone downloads your lead magnet, or when someone wants to subscribe to your podcast, etc. Right? There's so much to automate. So I like to look at that. And then you have the yearn. How do we get people to love your product or service? How do we get them to evangelize it and spread the word about it? So your cost of marketing, your cost per acquisition, or cost per purchase go down. And then we also want to look at how can we make it flexible. That's yoga. When I think of yoga, I think of flexibility and strength. So how can we add that to your business where you can scale up, scale down as needed, and maneuver so you can grow and not fail? We see that a lot. Like businesses scale too quickly, they get an influx of cash, they don't know how to handle it, then they crash. Or we see the opposite, especially in the BIPOC community where we're not getting enough funding, right? Where we're like, how do I get funding? We're bootstrapping, we don't make enough on the personal side, or credit is bad. So then the bank doesn't want to give us a loan. Well, I'll help you with all of that because business funding, there are creative strategies, especially as a business owner, that we can leverage, right? You got to get in good. That's why I said get with the right people and they'll help you, right? You don't have to do it by yourself.
I think you mentioned something a few minutes ago about doing certain things like finding your main revenue stream.
Mhm.
Um, I think the a lot of people get into trouble when they're trying to do too many things, and I get it. It's because either one, you're just and I know any entrepreneur, or if you got an entrepreneur mindset, you you got so many ideas and you got so many interests. And I'm like that myself. Well, you got a lot of interest, and so you can try to do all these things. Starting too many things. Do you see that like killing a lot of people when they're trying to start their business?
Yeah, absolutely, man. You become overwhelmed. It's like you got this thing handing up this pot, this hand in this pot, this thing, this product launching, this service launching. Like it's not gonna work, right? Until you build a team that can handle those different streams, none of them are going to really work out because you're not marketing them well. You're talking about this one day, then you're talking about this another day. Like no one can really catch up on what you're doing, right? And it's like that's going to hurt you. You end up cannibalizing yourself, right? So you got to really think about launch strategies. You got to think about what you're speaking about, the messaging, and sometimes with marketing, you got to try a bunch of different things for one thing. So imagine if you have 2, 3 things going on at once. So I always recommend like give yourself like a 90-day period where you just focus on at least that one thing for 90 days, right? Just focus on that one product or service, launch it, make sure you have a content calendar, right? That covers those 90 days. Make sure you have the messaging right. Make sure you have your email sequences written, right? So you're not being reactive, you're being proactive, right? And then start pushing it out. Find the channels that you can use to do one to many so you can really get it out there as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and stop listening to these people on Instagram, like because
Oh
I think
Lord.
that's the
Oh man.
problem is because you listen to these people and they like, oh, if you ain't doing this and you ain't doing that and you ain't doing
Seven
nothing.
streams of revenue, seven
Yeah,
streams of income. And it's like, man, I don't got enough to do one. How I'm gonna do seven? Right.
yeah,
So we gotta be smart about it. We gotta have discernment, man. Like these people don't know what they're talking about. I'm just gonna be real. Like they caught it, they caught the break, they did thing, they ran their play and they did well in it. But we gotta understand that their play is not ours, right? Find people who really, really, really invest in learning these things. Find people who really, really invest in being better for you. Like a lot of people who call themselves coaches because it's not a regulated field. They're not certified. They didn't go through any training. They just what they did was systematize something that worked for them 5 years ago. Right. So make sure it's still relevant to today and stop giving you $10,000, $15,000 to these people.
yeah. Man, it's been so good, man. Uh, we're running out of time, but man, it's been so good. Man, and hey, man, if y'all want more, link up with Javon stuff, man. Like, so let me ask you this one last question.
Mhm.
In this day and age, like I said, so many people are starting businesses, and that's good. I love it. I love it, and I encourage it. You know what I mean? And so many people are starting businesses, and you got some people who want to start a business, but they don't even know what they want to do. But they know that they want to either make more, or they want more freedom, or they want to control you know what I mean? They want to control their narrative, but they don't really know where to start. So what would you tell a person who just, they may not have a specific product? What would you tell them to even get started, to even just see if this is for you? Like how would you direct them if they say, Javon, I want to start a business. So like,
Mhm.
what is the first thing that I need to do? Like I don't have a concept right now. Like what is the first thing I need to do?
Start with the problem that you're solving, right? Start with the problem that you want to solve first, because that is really where product or service comes from. And if you can't think of that, then maybe it's not the right time to start it, right? If you don't know exactly why you want to do it, maybe it's not the right time. And then you can look at, some of your skills, right? What skills do you have that you can apply that you can leverage right away? Because a lot of skills, you'd be surprised what businesses you can create, right? So look at your skill set, write it down, see how you can apply it. Is there a business model that can be used or leveraged? And then make sure that you do your research. Don't just go out there and say, hey, today I'm this, right? Do your research. Make sure you can add value. When you do start launching that business, right, get a content marketing strategy. Content is king. So if you are not adding value with your content, gone are the days where you just sell, and be all pushy. People aren't going for that. So make sure you have a content marketing strategy. How are you going to put it out there? What words are you going to use? And this is before the whole branding thing. So many of us, we fail because we do branding. We get our logo, we get our website right, but none of that matters if what's being said through the brand and on that website resonates with your target audience. So do the homework, find out who your target audience is, write the content that really matters to them, solve a problem, right? Solve the problem and let them know how their transformation will look when they get done with working with you, right? So you want to take them from A to Z. A being their problem, their pain point. Z is after they get the solution, what do they feel, right? Are they confident? Are they happier? Do they have more time to do what they love? Those types of things. And then look at there's something called the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Make sure your content aligns with that. Make sure you're helping them strive or thrive, right? In whatever way that is, whatever domain you want to hit.
Man, I love it. Hey, it's been so good. Hey, if y'all got something out of this, man, if y'all, whatever you got out of it, let me know in the comments. Show Javon some love. Let him know what you think about it. Let him know what you learned. Just, I want to hear from you because it's been so good. So, Javon, where can we get in contact with you, man, to find out more of what you're doing?
Yeah, first and foremost, Larry, I appreciate you having me on, brother. This has been fun. I love talking about mindset and business, so I got to talk about both today. Thank you. And you can find me livenotloathe.com. That's LIVENOTLOATHE. Or you can find me on all social platforms at Live Not Loathe. That's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and LinkedIn.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. And just thanks for coming on, man, and adding value to my audience, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Anytime, man. Thank you for what you're doing, man. The platform is amazing.
That's it. That's all I've got for this episode. If you like it, please share it and rate it and review it. Leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you're listening. If you're watching on YouTube, like it, share it with somebody who you know will benefit from it.